Good afternoon and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. Now, as the Ember months approach, if you meet Nigerians and ask them what they want, they are still full of hope and they wish for so many things. For some Nigerians, it's education. For others, it's health. While for others, it's just having the opportunity to make a decent living. Now, if democracy is to work, it is government by the people, of the people, for the people. This present government needs to listen to what Nigerians really want. Now, to discuss what Nigerians want and how this government can fulfill its mandate of a renewed hope, I'm joined with a nation builder in the person of Daniel Otabo. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you so much.
And I'm also joined by a development practitioner in the person of Precious Obayuwana, who's joining us from our Abuja studio. Precious, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll start the conversation asking, what do you want as a Nigerian? What is that one thing? I know there's a long list, but if you were to narrow it down to say maybe 1, 2, 3 things, what do you think Nigerians really want, and what do you want?
Well, I mean, what I want, and I think what most Nigerians want, is good governance. You know, and that's because everything will begin to work when we have good governance. Nigerians are entrepreneurial, they are very skillful, they are very hardworking people. They want enabling environments to just get things going for them. They just want good governance, where policies are going to be made that will benefit them as citizens, right? And that will be done by us having good governance. So I think if you should actually just say one thing that I think we want as Nigerians, it will be good governance.
And I think they say that leadership, it all rises and falls on leadership. Yeah. So when we have good governance, all those things like health and education can become a reality. Precious, over to you. What do you want?
For me, I think from this government, it's basically accountability and transparency. Because when people are being held accountable for the things that have been done or what they do, I think then we can definitely see good governance, like Otabo has said. So for me, accountability and transparency, very important.
I think that all links into leadership.
Absolutely.
Now, when we're talking about good governance, how important is the role of the citizen? Because I want to piggyback off what Precious said about accountability. So where does the citizen come in holding the leaders accountable?
Yeah, I think first things first is to understand your rights as citizens and also understand your place as citizens. Thankfully, during the past elections, citizens were fully aware that they had to come and vote, even though we had, I think, one of the lowest turnouts in our election year. However, you could tell that Nigerians, young people especially, had woken up to their reality to say, guess what, guys? We actually had the most collection of PVCs, even though we had less people who come out to come and vote during the election day. And there were issues for that. However, citizens are fully aware of their responsibilities as Nigerians to become part of the system, to become part of the election process, to become part of how they hold the government accountable. And thankfully, through social media, actively, and when policies are being made, you hear them, airing their views. Even during the ministerial list, we're asking when it's going to come out, what's happening, and even what is happening with the whole tribunal issues. You hear them saying to say, all eyes on judiciary, and that's because we are becoming aware that we have a responsibility to hold the government accountable, whether they're doing right or whether they're doing wrong. We have to be accountable. They have to be accountable to us because, in a sense, we voted them into power, so they have to listen to us.
Okay. Now, Precious, I want you to walk us through how people can really demand that accountability. And not just accountability from the top, the presidency, but looking at state level, looking at local government level. Precious, okay, sorry, I'll redirect that to you, Daniel.
All right.
Let's look at accountability across all levels, because it's very easy to come and just hold the president responsible.
Yes.
But what about your local government chairman or your legislators, for example?
I realize that most times we do not pay attention to local government elections. We do not pay attention to, those who are representing us in House of Assembly, House of Reps, and even the Senate. And that's because we are drawn to what we think is the the high and mighty, the one who, in a sense, almost looks like it makes all the policies and all the rules. However, if we start to hold those in the local government accountable, right, hold them accountable, they would in turn hold the state government accountable. If we hold the state accountable, they will hold the federal government accountable. But if we leave it, if we do not pay attention, because if you ask the ordinary citizen to say, okay, do you know what, how much was allocated to your state in the fiscal year? They don't know, right? What is your governor supposed to be doing? They don't know, right? If you now go to the local level, it's even worse, right? So I think, like you mentioned, we have to hold them across board accountable, the local government, chairman, the House of Assembly members, House of Reps, the senators, and then your governors and your president. So it's important that we do it across board and know those who are representing you, right? Know those who are speaking for you in the House, because they are meant to speak for you, listen to you, and then go speak for you. They're not meant to go there and speak their mind. They're meant to say, you know, I want to hear what my people are saying back home so that I can then air their views, right? But if you don't hold them accountable, how then do you make that happen? Right, so yeah.
Okay, now I want to move to you, Precious, and the question is, technology, social media. If you're listening to Daniel, he mentioned how social media has played a huge role in governance. How can we leverage social media to demand accountability across all levels of government? So not just putting the heat on the presidency, but also the local government chairman or the legislators. And how accessible are these people on social media?
Okay, first, in our work in the development space, I don't think that these people are actively on social media because on the local level, most of these people do not actually see the importance of social media. Then for citizen engagement with their leaders, over time, we've always tried to explain and to advocate and sensitize people on how effective it is. We can see what happened with the NSAS movement. It went so far that most persons began to understand the importance of collective responsibility on the citizen part. So now we see people tweeting, there's a bad road in a particular place, they're calling out the government, oh, this place is bad, we need you to come fix it, this project has been awarded, but nothing has been done. People are seeing it. But now on the part of the government, we are not really seeing how much they're effective, but we know that they are there. So for citizens to actively engage, I think we need to cut across all levels. One, I would say, write letters. You know, we have the FOI Act now. With the FOI Act, you can demand some information that are really necessary or important for any kind of thing that you're seeking to get from the government. With that, government can respond to you based on that particular act. Now, it then says to say, it's now safe to say that if you know the policies, the laws, you'll be able to demand some certain information from the government. Now, on the part of social media, we know how much they've put so much, laws around social medias. It is now important for the citizen to know how to actively and effectively use it in order for it to, ensure that there is engagement for the leaders to respond to you without being abusive or any sort of misinformation or misappropriation of communication. So it's very important that we understand how to use it effectively, and I'm very sure that with the ones that have been using it so far, we've seen how much impact it has been, and we see how much impact it has been from citizen to the government and government to the citizen. So social media is going a long way. In short, it's currently the new gold mine. And if everybody decides that this is what they would utilize effectively, I'm very sure that citizen engagement and government engagement would go a long way.
Okay. Precious, thank you for that. I noticed that you were nodding your head as she was speaking, and she also spoke about the traditional way of writing letters. If we are to engage across social media, online and offline, what are practical ways that people who are watching are saying, okay, I want to demand for better. I don't know where to start. How do I even find out who my local government chairman is or who my legislator is? And how do I go about doing that?
So I think for 1 year, most of the government agencies are now on social media, most of them, from the presidency down to the local level. Most of them are now on social media, and that's because they've realized that that's the space where they can interact with their citizens, right? However, it's important that you know your local government chairman, and that would be to say, where is my local government in the area that I'm staying? right? They are almost, it's very easy to access your local government around your area, right? Most times people go there to do their NIN, they go there to do their other forms of identification, but they don't know that their local government chairman are also in that same building, right? So that's one way you can find them. And again, like I said, they're all on social media. And like Precious had said, right? You see, social media is very, very powerful. It's powerful because people are listening to the things that you're saying. And that's one way we can actually hold them accountable, the government accountable. We should never think that the things we're saying on social media is not being heard in the, in the corridors of power. It's being heard. And that's why you see that when you say things and, things begin to move. So don't hold yourself back to say, are you sure that they are listening to you? And if you believe in something and you think that they should hear what you're saying, ensure that you keep on pushing that narrative, pushing that point. Don't go around spreading fake news, right? If you have your facts right, ensure that you're always pushing that narrative, right? Get people on board to say, guess what, guys? Let us push this thing. It's important for us to send this message across to the people that should listen to us. And they would hear it. Would they listen to you? You never can tell. They will likely listen to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Precious, I want to ask, so far for the couple of months that this new government has been in power, do you feel they're doing a good job in delivering on some of the things that they promised? And how much are you holding this government accountable?
Well, first I will have to commend this government with the current appointment of ministers. I think one thing I personally have been advocating for is female participation in politics. And I can see how much with the new appointment, more women are now in politics, and we're hoping that there will be more in other levels of the government. But I think what is currently happening is they're doing things that are meant to be done, but I don't think they're putting a lot of other factors into consideration. For instance, from the fuel increase to some of the laws, especially the Student Act. That in particular, I'm very sensitive about that part, because there are a lot of loopholes in that particular laws, because it doesn't cover for the people who actually do need this particular student loan. Because you can't tell me that before I access this loan, I have to get someone who works in the government. What if I don't know anybody in the government? And also on the part of girl-child education, what if the father does not want his girl child to go to school? So I think for us to ensure that some of these laws are effectively impacting the life of people, especially the female gender, because that is one area that I'm personally involved in. We need to put in areas that ensures that people are held accountable, people are being pushed, or they are being moved to ensure that these areas are touched. Because like recently I kept saying that I don't think they do need assessments to actually identify the need of people before some of these laws are being passed.
So you feel that there wasn't enough consultation done before these laws are actually passed with the relevant stakeholders? Daniel, I'd like you to weigh in on that. How much stakeholder engagement needs to be done before some of these laws are passed? Because when we just heard about the student loan act, yes, on face value it seemed like a good thing, because abroad you have student loans. But when you start looking at the intricacies, it was like, wait a minute, what if I don't know someone in the civil service? Then how am I able to access this loan? So how much stakeholder engagement does the government need to do before it passes such laws? I
mean, I think enough engagement. And the truth is that I have a contrary opinion in terms of how we say that what the current government is doing. And I'll give you an analogy before I then explain what I'm trying to say. You see, there is an issue on ground right now. People are questioning the legitimacy of this current government, right? And you hear people also saying that, guess what, let's just forgive and forget and all of that stuff. That's a fantastic thing to say. However, I paint a scenario for you. Imagine, for example, that my loved one is being kidnapped, right? And then the kidnapper says to me, guess what, you're going to pay a ransom of about 10 million naira to get your loved one back, okay? Then I paid the money, 10 million naira to get my loved one back. Then the guy says to me, guess what, I'm going to give you 2 million naira, but I will not give you your loved one. My point is that You are telling me to forget my loved one because the kidnapper is going to give me some amount of money from the money that I paid to him. So that's not the way you forget and forgive things.
But that is a sentiment of certain Nigerians. Does that represent the sentiment of the entire nation?
Well, it's as long as the issue is still in court, right, it means that we are questioning the legitimacy of the government. If the tribunal says, hey, he is the rightful winner of this election, the case goes to rest. But as long as it's still in court, there is a question mark to the legitimacy of the government. Now, if it just shows that if there's a question mark to the legitimacy of the government, people are saying to themselves, maybe that's the reason why they don't even pay attention to stakeholders who can actually help, in a sense, give us better policies. Because how do you bring out these acts, right, for people who you think, and the students are not even excited about it? There was no excitement anywhere because guess what? There's no trust from where this thing is coming from.
Okay,
right.
I'd like you, Precious, to answer this. How can this government build trust even while we're waiting for the final verdict from the tribunal? Precious.
Building trust is going to be very difficult because first, if our judiciary is not transparent enough to pass a judgment where every citizen, the global world knows what was done or the rightful thing that was done during the last election, I think that's where we have problem. So access to justice is very important. So when we have a situation in a country where people cannot be held responsible or consequences are not being held, I don't think we can actually build trust. And secondly, we don't have role models who we know that when people look up to these people, we say, okay, this political person is one person that I look up to, and we have youth who are emulating them. And in as much as we have the the not too young bill currently that give access to young people to politics, we still have a long way to go. As you can see, even in the music industry, young people are emulating people that they see that are making it out there.
Precious.
How many persons are?
Sorry to have to jump
Can you
in
hear
there,
me?
but yes, we're out of time now. So thank you very much for your contributions. Yes, thank you very much. Precious Obayuana, a development practitioner who joined us from our Abuja studio. And thank you to a nation builder here, Daniel Otabo. Thank you for coming on Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much.
Indeed, the conversation continues right after this break. Join us again. Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now, our next guest is an entrepreneur who has blessed us with her many talents, from cooking to fitness, to her diary sessions, and also to her love for people, especially her mom. I can go on and on about this lady who is referred to as a breath of fresh air. Welcome, Uriel, to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Now, I know it came as a shock for many when you were evicted from the Big Brother Naija All-Stars season.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people have been wondering why. Who's to blame? Is it the fans?
Yeah.
Is it the media? Is it the jury members?
Yeah. For me, I just feel like, so many factors, combined together. I feel that was the cause of me leaving. But I would say predominantly, it was the jury's fault because, if you look at the votes, I had higher votes, but, at the end of the day, they had the last word and I had to leave. So, yeah.
And when you lay the blame at the jury, how do you feel now that the jury component has been removed?
Well, initially, I wasn't quite sure how I would feel. But I feel like, I always say this, I feel like I was cheated because I gave a brilliant show. I think even, for the 3 weeks I spent there, I was well-rounded with the cooking, my talent, my singing, my acting. So, yeah, I just, I don't like it, I felt really bad. I felt cheated and I felt like I had so much more to offer. And, yeah, it was a struggle in the beginning, trying to, get over the fact that, it was snatched from you. But all you can do is, you know, look at that and move on and make that deciding factor, the jury's deciding factor, your strength to move on and better yourself. So I'm working twice as hard now.
And some will say that you gave us a lot of content, like you mentioned, from the cooking,
Yes.
even your incredible fitness journey.
Yes.
Like the person who came years ago is not the same person.
Absolutely not.
And you were giving us really good diary sessions.
Yes.
So the question is, why weren't the fans doing what they needed to do to keep you out of the bottom 3?
So that's a very interesting question. I would say people became very relaxed. Because, you know, I have a huge following, so I have about 1.8 million followers, sorry. And they just felt, okay, Uriel is safe, you know, somebody's going to vote for Uriel, you know, like she's strong, you know. And I feel like they just kind of laid back, and that is how I entered the bottom 3. Previous to that, I was never in the bottom 3. So I think everybody was just relaxed that, you know, she has this, she's got this. And surprise, surprise, things happened, you know, especially when you have the other housemates where they might not have as much following as I do. So they're like eager and they're like voting and they're throwing in, you know, money to vote. And I think that's what happened. I feel like my team also were very relaxed when it came to...
Laissez-faire, your handlers.
I feel like they were very relaxed. So, I mean, so many things. I've wrecked my brain and I've gone through so many different scenarios, but you know, it is what it is. I'm outside now and I have to make it work for myself, and I don't want to keep pondering on, you know, what could have been. I'm here now. So what can Uriel do to progress on to her next level and, you know, make more than that 120 million?
And I think we've already seen you do so many things coming out of the house. It's like you've hit the ground running since you've left the house. One thing that has come up is this, would you say, a love-hate relationship with the media?
Oh.
And how, I'd like you to address that, because there's been some of what you've said online about how the media has twisted some of the things you said about particular housemates.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I understand the media very well, and I understand that in order for a certain media house to, you know, get some sort of recognition, they have to have cutouts of, you know, like a showstopper, something that will catch the viewer's attention. And I understand that factor, but they're doing their job, and I feel like, you know, sometimes, you know, to make money or to get to a certain position, you have to twist things, you have to twist the truth. And it's sad because, you know, I'm caught up in the middle, and it is my life. And for the last 6 years, I have always been a family brand. I am, you know, my brand is family friendly. So, you know, it hurts, but you just do what you got to do, and that's it. You know, you take it under the chin and just keep progressing, and that's what I do. I'm a very strong woman. I've gone through far.
And you spoke about being a family brand. I mean, if you people who follow you on social media know that your mom is a huge part of your life, and you're very open about her struggles with dementia and her illness, and how you've continued to remain strong for her. Now, a lot of people were expecting that maybe when you went into the house, you would have spoken about her a lot more.
Yes.
Was that a strategy not to really speak about her, even though there was the issue with white money?
Yeah.
Do you feel that your strategy going in was more about maybe the cooking and the fitness and less of this family brand?
So I would say when I said initially that I've gone through a lot more, I was actually talking about my mother. I spent 10 years of my life being a carer. So this is just a little icing on the cake. You know, I will definitely overcome this. But in regards to my mother, not bringing my mother full front, you know, in the house was a decision I made before I went in, because I just thought that it would just be too predictable, you know? And people would be like, oh, why is she using her mother to get sympathy votes? And I feel like there's so much about myself, and I have so much talent, you know, whether it's the cooking. I found out in the house that I have such a stage presence, you know, theater. You know, I'm able to project myself in a very good manner. So there's so much more to Uriel than just, you know, her mother. And I wanted to show that I'm a cook. I'm also into fitness. I can sing. I can do this. You know, I'm well-rounded. And that was a decision I made, not to bring my mother into the equation, because, you know, they know that side of me. They've known it for 6 years. This is a fresh start, okay? Let me show you things you might not know of me. And that was the decision I made, yeah.
Now, if we look at the first time you went into the house, it was Uriel, the musician.
Yes.
And then you go back into the house and it's Uriel, the cook, the fitness expert, Uriel with the new body.
Yes.
How much of the music
breath
is
of
still...
fresh air.
Yes, the breath of fresh air.
Yes.
How much of the music is still important to your brand and your future plans?
So the music for me is, I probably wouldn't do music to push out there and, you know, like an artist. But what I would want to do now is I want to work with brands. So I want to go into doing jingles. I want to go into jingles on the radio. I want to, you know, create music for brands, food brands. I want to be behind the scene. You know, I want to lend my voice to push out brands, you know. So that is what I want to do when it comes to music. You know, I write songs. So it's something that I'm looking to do. But as far as me being an artist, no, I don't have that. I don't have that energy. Or like being an artist is, oh my goodness, it's so much wahala, you know? So I don't have the energy to be like, hey, meet me at this place, meet me at that place. I don't have that energy, please. So yes, I'm definitely going to go into behind the scenes, production, music when it comes to brands.
And speaking about your future plans, we've heard about the podcast. Tell us about that, the inspiration. And is this something that we're going to see you next year, 2 years? Is this podcast here to stay?
Absolutely. I always call myself a vibe. I've always been a vibe. And I feel like the podcast, I've always known that people love to listen to me and people love, you know, my sense of humor. So the podcast thing is just, you know, an extension of myself. And it's something that, you know, I do freely, you know, when there's something going on in the economy or entertainment, whatever, I'm able to push that onto my podcast. So it's definitely here to stay. Eventually, I would love to go into having my own talk show, but I want to do it. I want to touch lives with my talk show. You know, I've had so much experiences, you know, growing up. You know, I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother was an immigrant in the UK. We've gone through so much in our lives. So I want to have a show where I'm able to touch lives and, you know, be around people. So yeah, everything is, you know, working accordingly. Yeah.
And one of the things that we saw you on screen is you seem to have this like UK personality, but you could very quickly switch it off and go local, and you've done that right now. Okay. So how do you choose which personality and to put out there? Is this the Uriel UK or is this the Uriel Nigeria?
Well, the Uriel UK is kind of here because I feel like I have to be prim and proper. So you know, it's second nature. You know, I could be talking in my UK accent and then all of a sudden the Igbo comes out. Yeah, so I now say something like, "Ihotago." I'm like, where does that come from? So it's just something that is a part of me. It's just me. And, you know, I just found that people actually find it interesting where I could be like very prim and proper and then the Igbo comes out. So it's just me. I've been doing it for years. So it's like now people love it. So yeah. It is what it is.
Interesting. I mean, I'm almost thinking of maybe skits, different characters.
Yes. I'm heavily thinking of going into acting. So, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm on set for like 2 weeks. No, because I'm too busy. I'm trying to push out my restaurant. I have a sports brand coming out now. So I'm doing so much. And I know acting is very demanding. So I think skits will be more suited to me where, you know, you have a shorter period of shooting days rather than being on set for a longer period of time. So yeah, I really want to, this Big Brother, I'll tell you what, it made me more assertive of myself and things that I was pondering on in the past, thinking, will I be a good actress? Would they like my food? You know, I cook differently. So when I entered the house and I just felt like everybody loved my food, they loved my acting, they loved my, you know, so it's given me that, you know, yes, I can do it. So it was a blessing in disguise for me, absolutely.
So were you saying your food was sweeter than White Money's food?
All day, every day. Come on. And he knew it too. White Money didn't know when he ate my, what was it, my fried rice or my native rice. He didn't know when he finished chewing bone. He spat out the bone, toy on the plate. So he didn't even know when he did that. So, I mean, we all cook differently, but I think I have a little bit of an edge because I do local and I do continental as well. But he is such a brilliant chef. But I think I have the edge, you know.
Okay.
I grew up cooking for 4 boys.
When you speak about maybe pursuing that acting and skits, a lot of people believe in collaboration. So if you were to collaborate with some of the housemates in there, like who would be the people that, who do you want to collaborate with?
Oh, with the skits?
Yes.
I would say I would love to do a collaboration with Vanita because I think she's an amazing, strong actress. I would love to do something with Baye. Adekunle is amazing as well. White Money is a wonderful actor. Soma, Fraud. Oh my gosh, it's just endless because I just feel like there's just so much talent in that house. So I would love to do something with them. Yeah. With
I think a name was missing. Considering that.
Sorry, who?
You and him have had a bit of acting experience on our screen.
Oh, Perret!
On our screen. Is there chemistry there? Is there something there?
Perret is my friend. There's nothing there.
Just your friend.
We just had. You see, the thing is, if I'm going to do something, Uriel, if Uriel's going to do something, I'm going to do it 100%, and I'm going to make it believable. So when I got the call to do this music video, and Perret was my co-star, and we met. Obviously, he's a handsome guy. There was a little bit of, you know, mutual. What's that word?
Or attraction, chemistry,
of course,
sparks.
you have to have. And I feel like because of that, we were able to sell that video and make that video, believable. People thought that we actually were, we actually dated because it was like, how can you have so much chemistry in that one video? But as far as on the outside, will something happen between Perret and I? I don't think so. I think we have an understanding that we're friends. Yes, I'm attracted. I think he's an attractive man, but I think it stops there. And I respect him as an actor, and I think he respects me as a creative person. But he is a wonderful friend, and I can't wait to see him when he comes out.
And speaking of attractive men, Neo.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what do you make about the whole Neo situation in the house? Neo,
do you know what? I said the first person when I walked into the house that I saw and just thought, oh, he's a good-looking guy. And we actually spoke. I think it was the first night was actually Adekunle. And he was very quiet, and I was drawn to him being withdrawn. And I came up to him and I was like, oh, why are you so withdrawn and the rest of it? And then later on, as time went on, I saw Neo, and I was like, oh, Neo's really handsome. And the first thing that attracted me to him was his smell. And I love the fact that we were both into the same thing. We're both into fitness. We both love smoothies. He's going to do a smoothie bar. I have a smoothie bar that I'm also going to do. So it was just, I found common ground with Neo. And, yeah. And
you shared a kiss.
Yes. And despite him being younger than myself, it didn't matter. I feel like when you have that common ground, age is nothing but a number, and we did share a kiss. It was a mutual understanding.
Mutual, so we are not blaming it on any substance, or it's mutual.
You see, I feel like if somebody blames a kiss on alcohol, I would say that is wrong. The reason being is because you're already in that frame of mind. You're already thinking, I'm attracted to that person. So the only thing alcohol does is it highlights your feeling, and it makes you more confident to...
It removes that barrier.
Yes, to do what you need to do. So I was already attracted to him. And yes, I had alcohol, yes. But it just made me feel like I was more confident to go in for the kiss. And I've never done anything like that, especially on national TV.
And he kissed back.
And he kissed back, And... yeah, I'm glad you saw that. He kissed back. I'm glad you said that. He kissed back. So yeah, it was a mutual thing. And I feel like, he is attracted to me and I'm attracted to him. So it was just bound to happen. I feel like we don't know what could have happened if I had stayed longer.
He's attracted to you, but it seems like he spends a lot of time dealing with issues in the toilet, like with Tolani Badge.
I feel like with Tolani Badge and Neo, I would say that they've had an ongoing friendship. 3 years now, and Neo is a very loyal man, and he is very into his friends and wants to make sure everybody's okay. So I would be surprised if Neo met somebody like today and abandons a 3-year relationship. So the whole scenario that you're talking about, the whole toilet thing, I was out of the house, but I feel like I still stand by this. I still feel like there was a mutual attraction between both of us, but I also stood back. You know, I wasn't all over him in the house. I gave him space, and that was it. That's the kind of person I don't want to chase a man too much. I feel like if you want me, you need to come for me. I've shown you I have interest in you. And I think that was why every weekend,
The clips say it all.
Yeah.
Now, who would you put your money on to go all the way and win?
Oh, who would I put my money on?
Oh, who are you rooting for?
I am rooting for a lot of people, but it's so hard to say now. I feel like I want Baye to win, and I want Cece to win. Baye or
Girl
Cece.
power.
I want Baye, and I feel like Baye and Cece will stand hand in hand in the finals. I feel like that would happen. I feel like Adekunle will be somewhere there, but I feel Baye or Cece to win. But I love every one of them. Soma, Alex, I love all of them. But, you have to go by what the viewers are seeing and what's going on online, and they have such a huge impact right now. So, yeah.
And finally, I mean, you've spoken about your sports brand. You've spoken about wanting to go into skits. What can we expect from you from now till the end of the year?
Oh my gosh. So many things. I have my restaurant, so I do predominantly healthy foods. So you get to taste all the recipes I cooked in the house and all my new recipes. My podcast, which is, ongoing. And I'm about to release a fitness line. So, we have the gym wear, we have the bags, the flask, and what else is there? I'm going to continue my work. I do meal plans for people that want to better their lives, lose weight. So I'm going to continue doing that from my office space. Working with more brands, influencing, lifestyle. So there's so much more. And there's so much more to me. I feel like I'm such a versatile human being. So, and I'm blessed. So many things are going to happen. So many wonderful things. So, yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations in advance for all the many things you have planned.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And we'll go on a quick break here on Rubbin Minds. Join us again. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show it. Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now, growing up in Nigeria, there was a lot of influence on foreign music. You turn on the radio, you look at the charts, and you're seeing foreign musicians. But over the couple of years, we've seen a resurgence of such when it comes to Afrobeat. And now our music is not just played here in Nigeria, but it's gone global. You go to malls across the world, you're in restaurants, bars, and clubs, and we have our artists doing amazing on a global stage. To discuss the evolution of Nigeria's music industry, I'm joined by music journalist in the person of Adeayo Adebi. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you very much.
Now, I want you to cast your mind back to, let's say, the 80s, 90s, and just think about when Nigerian music started getting popular. What do you think was that turning point where it went from just, listening to a little bit of Nigerian music to Nigerian music dominating?
I mean, we have to appreciate different parts of history. Nigerian music has always had a special feel to it. It has always produced successful artists since even the 60s. So, but there are different peculiarities to different eras. Like in the 60s, we had the likes of Victor Laya. In the 70s, we had the likes of Fela. And we had our popular music with the likes of, Felix Liberty, Chris Okoti, Christine Estienne Igboku, and the likes. And in the 90s, we had Shina Peters, Adewale Ayuba, and co. So we've always had like a bit of commercialization of Nigerian music, but it changes with different generations, and I think it started when music started traveling abroad with the likes of Fela, when Fela took our music to the rest of the world, and they started through his, through his agitation, and the likes of King Sunny Ade took Nigerian music to festivals abroad, and people started to understand that there's a distinct sound coming from a part of the world, and that was one of our earliest interactions with the global music framework.
I like how you speak about our music going commercial. So while there was Fela and Shina Peters, when growing up in Nigeria, when you turn on the radio, for example, popular radio stations were playing a lot of foreign music, and we're listening to charts that only featured foreign music, and it wasn't the popular music that was listened to. I mean, when I think about some of the dance steps, I think about Butterfly, I think about the Flex. These are not music, these are not dances attached to Nigerian music. But now I can think about 10 different things. I can think of Azonto, I can think of Shaku Shaku, I can think of Zanku. I mean, there's a dance move coming out all the time. So what do you think made Nigerian music go commercial in the past, say, 20 years?
Okay, thank you. So now for, this is the wave of Afrobeats. So started in the mid-90s, you know, when dancehall was taking over the world, the likes of Shabarangs, you know,
Sean Paul,
Shakade Moss and Plies. So they influenced our local artists here. So the likes of Raski Mono, Daddy Shoki, they started making popular music, you know, popular music with a global feel to it. It was not the first time we're making it, but this time we're making it for a new generation at the globalization age. This was at the technological age. And at that point, there were a lot of foreign elements on radio. But that's when the likes of Power came on board, other news stations came on board, and the Nigerian government themselves tried to tried to domesticize our music, you know, try to tell the radio stations that you have to play a section
local
of
content.
Local content. They have to play a section of Nigerian music daily. So that helped our local content. That bringing it home gave our artists the opportunity to shine at a national level. So at that point, you could be in Lagos and listen to music coming out from different parts of Nigeria. So that's when Afrobeat started taking off little by little, and it was aided by technology. And as technology advanced, as social media came, as streaming networks came, our music continued to grow, and we started, you know, going from Nigeria, international collaborations, working with international artists from other countries. This increased our exposure.
So government, and then the rise of social media and technology.
Helps globalize our music.
You know, listening to you, you've spoken so well about the different artists that have continued to put Nigerian music on a global map as early as the 60s till present day. Now, how do you react to, and I want to paraphrase it, to an artist who says that Nigerian music lacks substance? When we look at the likes of, you said, Fela, Shina Peters, Victor Olaiya, all the way down to the likes of Wizkid, Davido, even Burna Boy, who is credited as saying our music lacks substance.
It's a very sad, sad statement, because it insults the memory of our great artists, some of whom you just mentioned. So, I mean, at no point in the history of Nigerian music has Nigerian music lacked substance. And maybe not even dive into the entire history of Nigerian music. Let's even talk about the history of Afrobeats that started gaining momentum, say, around 96, 97 to what it is now. At no point in the evolution of Afrobeat has Afrobeat lacked substance. I mean, the fact that our music carry elements of our culture, and our culture, the way we make our music is to, to make people happy, to give people a good time. That doesn't mean to say that the element that comes together to make that music, they don't have substance, they don't have depth, they don't have quality, or they don't carry meaning. So it's a very sad thing to hear from an artist with such a global standing, because right now African music, Nigerian music is taking Africa to the world. Nigerian music is increasing Nigeria's soft power internationally, and Nigerian artists are making a lot of money, and they are impacting the world. We're selling our shows that their African contemporaries cannot sell. And we cannot do these things if our music doesn't have a bit of substance to it.
So you're saying that the evidence on ground suggests that this is just not true. Now, as a music journalist, as a gatekeeper, what do you do, and what's your responsibility to keep artists like Burna Boy in check, so that some of the foreign media that are carrying these news might not have the context that that Nigerians have of our music? So how can we ensure that the right news goes out? Because truly Nigerian music has substance.
Yeah, so it's for everybody to play their part. Everyone.
How are you playing your part as a music journalist?
I mean, we're having a conversation. We're trying to educate listeners, through our platforms, our different platforms, try to educate listeners. And as we have it, like the globalization has allowed people from all over the world to be able to access information easier. So we could tell them that this is not true. This is in fact what is correct, and this is what's not correct. So Afrobeat does have substance, and the fact that the music is put together in a very, very catchy way is just the elements of pop music, and Afrobeat is pop music. And aside that, the artists themselves have an obligation to put Afrobeat on the spotlight and also shine a good light on Afrobeat. So if one artist who is the biggest Afrobeat export goes out there to say something that is not true about Afrobeat, would expect other artists, contemporaries, who also have massive platforms at the global stage, to go out there and say, this is not what is right, this is what is right. This person his statement is not reflective of what is happening in the industry. So at the end of the day, everyone has to play their part. It cannot be left alone for the media or the fans to just correct these erroneous beliefs.
But other artists,
this
is not the time to click ignore. This is the time to speak
this is not
out.
the time to keep
now,
quiet.
I want to ask, I saw a tweet recently, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It essentially said, this day and age, you don't really need to have talent. It's about being able to hold someone's attention. And I believe it's a culture journalist, Joe Yakan, and I'm paraphrasing him, that so far as you can get on stage and hold people's attention, you're good to go. That it's not so much about the talent, but it's about the means, the resources, the finance. How true is that?
It's to a large extent, it's true. At the points where music marketing is at an all-time high in terms of expensive. It's now more expensive than it has ever been, and that's because you have to cater to more platforms now. Before, let's say 10 years ago, when you put out music, you only have to cater to, say, the radio, and you take your CDs around to DJs and you hand them your CDs for them to play it at clubs and at events. But now you have different social media networks, to cater for. You need to cater to the sensibilities of fans on Twitter, on IG, on TikTok, and that's capital intensive. And as well, the fact that there's a lot of money in the industry means there's more competition, and the people with the higher your resources, the higher you can scale and outcompete your competitor. So it's now a very capital intensive market, but that's not to say talent does not, to an extent, to a large extent, even play a part.
Okay, and finally, what are your expectations from Nigerian music? Where do you see Nigerian music evolving to in the next, say, 5 years, 10 years? Do you see Afrobeat still remaining relevant?
Of course, totally. I mean, we've been evolving over the years. We're not where we were 7 years ago. We've progressed from where we were 3 years ago, and we expect to also keep moving forward. And both locally and internationally, we keep evolving the sound, keep evolving and keep reaching out to new markets, because Afrobeat is just reaching out to the Western world now and breaking grounds in parts of Europe. But there's still markets left to be conquered in Asia, in North Africa. So
there's still work to be done and territories to be conquered. Yeah. Thank you very much, Adeayo Adebi, a music journalist right here. Thank you for sharing your contributions on Rubbin Minds.
You're welcome.
And that's where we'll be ending today's edition of the show. Join us again next week when we come to you with another episode of Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adeji. You have a good afternoon.